Mortals, you defy the gods? I sentence you to travel among unknown stars. Until you find the kingdom of Hades, your bodies will stay as lifeless as stone.
Ulysses, the way back to Earth has been wiped from my memory.
It was 1985 to 6 when you had the first airing of Ulysses 31 on children's BBC. I was about 6 years old at the time. A new cartoon with space stuff seemed pretty cool, since everyone loved Star Wars. Cartoons were just for kids anyway. In that case, Ulysses 31 should have been some space faff with goodies and baddies and spaceships and lasers and pew pew bang poof. Nothing wrong with that. Instead, the young viewer was inadvertently introduced to whimsical villains with twisted motivations. Introduced to epic storytelling from the world of Homer, or Kristin and, forgive my pronunciation, Mizares comics. There were of course shades of Star Trek and Star Wars, and it was all backed with the 1980 Flash Gordon film's space rock opera style soundtrack. With these apparent influences, how could a kid not be drawn into it all? Just imagine how something like this could fire the neurons in a growing brain. This was one of those moments which threatened to expand a mind, unlock avenues of thinking, light the mental touch paper of creativity. It was the very opposite of dumbed down. I have a feeling that if those who filled up the children's BBC scheduling block had actually watched Ulysses 31, they might have had second thoughts about screening it. Then again, in the 1980s, mature stories and events were often remade into daring cartoons which sought to ignite rather than dull imagination. We have Cities of Gold, Dogtanian and the Muskhounds, and 80 Days Around the World, to name a few. I learned more about history and some of the literary classics from the cartoons I watched as a kid than through any type of schooling. One of the main reasons the show stuck with me and my friends was the constant challenging discomfort of its storytelling and tone. Episodes often had twisting plots, suiting the clever nature of Ulysses himself. Yet the feelings of bleakness and awaiting dread pulled me in completely. Compared to most other kids' shows, before and after, Ulysses unwrapped complicated story elements in a way much of its child audience could comprehend. Angry, booming voice gods played with time and space. Nothing was ever as it seemed. Ulysses' crew were not simply cursed to sleep until Ulysses found his way back to Earth. They floated upright, like corpses hung from a tree. They didn't breathe. As Zeus said, they were
lifeless as stone.
The universe of Olympus itself was populated with bizarre worlds and beings, most with unsettling secrets. This discordant, creepy factor set Ulysses 31 apart from other kids' shows. On a planet-sized hospital world seemingly devoid of life, a ghostly hologram told all who might have the misfortune to visit,
"You must know the dangers that lie in wait for you if you remain."
Sure enough, danger grew from under the metal-plated surface. Deadly cyborg flowers sprouted to kill all intruders. In one episode, the magician in black, a strange figure introduced by a robotic, dog-flanked butler bodyguard, stuns our heroes with displays of space, time and matter-warping magic. A being who even the gods are wary of. A powerful, whimsical figure. I can't help but imagine the magician being the inspiration for Star Trek's Q. The magician frees Ulysses' crew, then, in typical horror film fashion, invites them to a long-tabled banquet where the price of his help is unveiled. You see, the magician is a slave master and a hunter. He longs to hunt man, the truly rare game. In the kingdom of time, a world of ever-passing seasons and ever-ticking clocks, Ulysses and his companions suffer under the speeding of ages. As a child watching this, I remember being deeply disturbed at the prospect of rapid aging. It meant one thing only: death. We see Ulysses' comatose companions turn grey in moments. The alien girl, Yumi, ages into the winter of her life, giving a final prayer before time takes her. And in the final episode, we find the shades of Hades with their backs turned to the living, but always moving closer, surrounding anything with the warmth of a beating heart, their touch ushering only cold death. What about how it all started in the first episode, when children are laid out as energy sacrifices in order to bring sight to the disciples of Cyclops? In fact, this cursory look makes me think, what the hell were the BBC doing, letting kids watch such scary stuff? But that is the post-millennium soy infusion talking. Ulysses 31 never sexualized its content. Kids were free to indulge their minds in tales of adventure, to indulge their child-born curiosity with thoughts of the wider world, not with a narrow obsession about the self. Handling everything respectfully, Ulysses 31 couched it all with a moral message of family, teamwork, courage, loyalty, ingenuity and integrity in face of adversity. You know, all those unfashionable things which long ago lifted nations and peoples from the struggle of nomadic and tribal subsistence living. Yeah, those bad things. The whimsical horrors of vengeful gods came close to overcoming the burning light of courage in adversity. Though fate itself seemed to lead to hardship and inescapable misery shown through the will of the gods, those who dared make their own fate could prosper. You just needed balls, and I don't mean that in a sexist sense. You needed the type of iron balls a certain Iron Lady had when she re-injected precarious ambition into old Blighty, while retracting the safety net of a union-lobbied state. You can hate or love the idea, but Ulysses 31 seemed to suggest that the only way to take on the conspiring fates was to conspire back at them. Even so, to stand up is to be hammered down. The magician who hunted Ulysses eventually freed him due to his respect for the courage and loyalty of Ulysses' companions. Only then did the butler bodyguard shoot a deadly arrow into his distracted master. Unveiling the trident symbol, the sign of Poseidon on his chest, we find out the god's plots ran further and deeper than we imagined. The defiant magician would defy the gods no more. Doomed to roll an ever-recycled ball of junk into a pit, Sisyphus never escaped his fate in Ulysses 31. Cronus, the king of time, desperate to please the gods who had exiled him, is eternally mocked without recompense. The universe of Olympus was utterly unforgiving, utterly compelling, to say the least. As I watched, drawn deeper by every episode, I imagined how Ulysses might escape all the impossible scenarios thrown his way, how, in the end, he must find his way home. I also imagined the waiting threats in this unsettling world, galaxy, universe. Nothing was sacred here. All characters were tempted to turn away from the cause of companionship at one point or another. But above all the characters, I had the deepest lingering suspicion about the Odyssey's ship computer, Shirka. Shirka perfectly framed the dangers of Ulysses 31. Lost as they were in the vastness of space, The bleakness was compounded by the computer's voice. A female HAL 9000 incarnate. What terrible circumstances could be ushered in if HAL and Shirker ever mingled circuits and spawned a monotone of doom? The stark female monotone of Shirker's voice offered no comfort to the crew. She was not a mother for sure. I remember always thinking that Shirker was plotting something because she unsettled me so much. I was certain she'd go bad at some point.
We are moving toward another unknown planetary system. Unknown. Unknown. Unknown.